I've only done a couple other videos on my powder coating booth here and spraying, but something here I thought was kind of interesting. I just thought I would share is that for this particular piece here, and this is from my 81 Jeep CJ7, this is um, the jack holder. The jack slides right in there and it goes on the passenger side fender wall and attaches right there, and then the jack slips right into it right in here. This one about shooting the powder, this one area here, I thought there would be no chance whatsoever that I'm going to get into that crack. That little space right in there, I thought for sure that, I think it's called, if I'm saying it right, the Faraday cage effect. It's essentially charged particles coming out of the powder gun. And so I have an Eastwood powder gun here. So when you're shooting it, it goes over that metal tip, the powder does. It collects a charge, and your piece is grounded. So there's my grounding wire. And then there's a charged particles floating around. That's the powder. And that basically just gets attracted to the positive and negative charges attract each other. Anyway, so that's my simplistic version of that. But what tends to happen, what I see when I'm shooting stuff, is that it's tough. Like for even edges, like in that little inside edge right there, it's going to float to the surface that's closest to it. It's going to pull that in. So it's a little harder to get in these little creases. And so that's why I don't use a diffuser generally. And because I'm doing smaller parts like this with a lot of angles, I'm going to get in there reasonably close and just kind of jiggle it around and kind of give it a direct flow. And I seem to get really good coverage that way. But again, down here, I thought, there's no way. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a try. I'm going to kind of stick it on the side here. I had the gun to the side. I wish I had taken a video of this, if that would have made any difference. And then, I twirled it around. I kind of tried to shoot it right in there. I didn't want to get too much overspray and have it super thick here. And then not enough in there. So essentially what I did was, you're holding in the, let's see here. So you have your, this is the turn on the gun, or basically charge the particles, and also for the grounding. And essentially what I did, and I feel like maybe this actually worked a little bit, because there's really no opportunity to do a lot of controls for this particular gun. It's pretty simplistic. I mean, I think it works great, but it only has a 15 and a 25 kV. I usually shoot at 25. I probably should have turned it down in retrospect, but what I generally did for this, I thought, well, I'll just give it a try. I kind of pulsed this as I was doing it, and sort of the idea was to spray a little bit, create a kind of a thick cloud in the area, and get it kind of floating in there without it pressed, so it's not getting sucked in anywhere and clinging to these outside areas first. And then, as I'm seeing the cloud kind of settle a little bit more inside, I press the button thinking that, okay, once it's in that little crevice right there, the little space in there, that then it would draw it to it. And that would be the way to do it. It's sort of a little cloud, pulse this on for a second, little cloud, pulse this on, little cloud, pulse this on. Now, yeah, maybe that's what did it. I like to think that it does. It kind of makes a logical sense in a way. Because again, I've had some issues with some of the other pieces that I've had, just really trying to get enough powder in those creases. And in fact, here's an example where I did not do that great a job. So this is the charcoal canister holder, again, over on the driver's side of the 81 CJ, in case you're interested in the parts. Notice that little white area there. I did not get into there very well. That was, a situation where my booth isn't real tall right here, and I probably should have paid a little bit more attention to it. Sort of live and learn. But I had it held up here kind of like this, somewhere in there. Anyway, you get the idea. Something like that. And I was trying to get underneath it and shooting it up right in there. I thought, okay, I can get in right at this angle. I'm just going to give it a nice gun shot right up in there. It'll flow in there. I did it for, what I felt like it was a pretty long time to give it plenty of coating and coverage, and it just and I didn't bother to check it. So, I mean, that's another learning point, is that after you're doing it, take your light. That's kind of why I like my light here. I can put it out. I should have put it right underneath there and given it a good look. And then I would have seen that I didn't have enough coverage. But anyways, again, you kind of live and learn. Not a huge deal. You're never going to see that. You're never going to see that area. I mean, it goes up against the firewall in the Jeep. Yeah, just like that. The canister goes in there. So you're never going to see that area. But that was kind of interesting that it didn't get in there. If I had just directly shot it on there, I bet it would have covered just fine. So probably what I'm going to do about this, I don't know what most people do. I'm sure you talk about, like, well, try to bake it again, put some more coat. Again, it's kind of behind. You're never ever going to see it. I'll probably just take a Q-tip with a little bit of paint on it and just kind of touch that up in there, at least so it's sort of primed and it won't get rusty. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. A little bit about technique I used. It was actually successful in this case. Was not successful in that case. Yeah, just something kind of interesting.